Jimmy Swaggart rose to fame as a televangelist and gospel singer in the 1980s. His TV ministry reached millions of Christians, but prostitution scandals toppled his multi-million-dollar ministries. Swaggart was 90 years old.
Have you ever wondered what was hidden inside Pastor Jimmy Swaggart's private study after his death? Many people expected to find only Bibles, sermons, and old church papers. Instead, the discovery sparked fresh interest in his long life, his ministry, his personal writings, and the legacy he left behind. For decades, Jimmy Swaggart was one of the most recognized televangelists in America, loved by many, but also surrounded by controversy. So what exactly was found inside his study that left so many people speechless? And why is everyone still talking about it today? Join us to find out. A life of faith. Jimmy Lee Swaggart was born on March 15, 1935, in Faraday, Louisiana. He was the first of two children born to Willie Leon Swaggart, who was known as Son or Son, and Minnie Belle Heron Swaggart. His father worked as a sharecropper, played the fiddle, and also preached in the Pentecostal church. His mother was a housewife who cared for the family. Their large family was closely connected through many marriages between relatives. Because of these family ties, many cousins, in-laws, and other relatives became linked together over the years. Jimmy was also the cousin of famous rockabilly singer Jerry Lee Lewis and country music star Mickey Gilley. During the 1950s, Jimmy, his wife, and their young son lived in poverty while he traveled across rural Louisiana preaching the gospel. According to his autobiography, To Cross a River, the family struggled to survive on an income of only $30 each week. They could not afford to buy a home, so they stayed wherever they could. At different times, they lived in church basements, the homes of pastors, and small motels. Even though life was difficult, Jimmy continued traveling from place to place to share his faith. His family accepted the hardships and kept moving forward together. As Jimmy worked hard as a preacher, an unexpected opportunity came his way. Sam Phillips, the producer behind Sun Records, wanted to begin a gospel music line for the record label. He hoped Jimmy would become the first gospel singer to record for the company. At that time, other major record labels were already producing gospel music, and Sun Records wanted to compete with them. Jimmy's cousin, Jerry Lee Lewis, had already signed with Sun Records and was reportedly earning about $20,000 each week. The offer promised a much better life for Jimmy and his family, especially after years of struggling with very little money. Even with the chance to earn a great income, Jimmy chose a different path. He turned down Sam Phillips and refused the recording offer. He believed that God had called him to preach the gospel rather than build a career in the music business. And this was the foundation that brought him fame. So what really was found in his study after his death? Let's find out. Building a ministry. Jimmy Swaggart began his full-time work as an evangelist in the year 1955. He preached from a flatbed trailer that had been given to him, traveling from one place to another to share the gospel. His simple style of preaching quickly attracted people across the American South. As he held more revival meetings, larger crowds gathered to hear his message. His ministry continued to grow as more people became familiar with his work and invited him to speak in different communities. In the year 1960, Jimmy expanded his ministry by recording gospel music albums. He also started sharing his messages through Christian radio stations. This allowed people who could not attend his meetings in person to hear his preaching and music. The following year, he was officially ordained by the Assemblies of God. That important step marked another stage in his ministry. 1 year later, he began his own radio ministry, giving him an even greater opportunity to reach listeners with Bible teaching and gospel music. During the late 1960s, Jimmy founded a small church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, called the Family Worship Center. What started as a small congregation gradually grew over time. The church later became affiliated with the Assemblies of God district. It became the center of his ministry and the place from which many of his activities were organized. In the year 1971, Jimmy Swaggart began his television ministry with a weekly 30-minute program aired on local Baton Rouge stations. That same year, he purchased WLUX Radio, broadcasting Bible teaching, Christian programs, preaching, and gospel music. By the year 1975, his television outreach had spread nationwide. 3 years later, the program expanded to 1 hour. In the year 1980, he launched a daily weekday broadcast featuring Bible study, worship music, and inspirational messages. His weekend program lasted 1 hour and usually featured a church service from the Family Worship Center or a crusade held in a major city. During the early 1980s, the broadcasts spread to many large cities throughout the country. By the year 1983, more than 250 television stations were carrying his program, allowing his ministry to reach millions of viewers. Throughout the 1980s, Jimmy Swaggart Ministries was among several American evangelical ministries that publicly supported the Mozambican National Resistance, also known as Renamo. The group was backed by South Africa and was accused of carrying out widespread war crimes during Mozambique's civil war, which lasted for 15 years. Besides public support, Jimmy Swaggart Ministries was repeatedly accused of providing money and other material assistance to the organization. In September of the year 1985, government forces supported by Zimbabwe captured Renamo's main headquarters, known as Casa Banana, inside Mozambique. After the rebels withdrew, officials found many copies of Jimmy Swaggart's 1982 publication, How to Receive the Baptism in the Holy Spirit, which had been translated into Portuguese. During the year 1988, Australian missionary Ian Gray stood trial. He had coordinated much of the private support sent to Renamo. During the court case, it was claimed by the defense that Jimmy Swaggart Ministries worked through Shekinah Ministries to provide support for Renamo. Later that same year, the media focused heavily on Jimmy Swaggart and his businesses because of a scandal, and the allegations concerning Renamo received very little attention. In the year 1991, both Covert Action magazine and the government of Zimbabwe accused Jimmy Swaggart Ministries of continuing to provide financial support to Renamo, expanding his reach. As Jimmy Swaggart's ministry continued to grow, he looked for new ways to reach more people with his message. One of his major projects was the creation of Sun Life Radio. The station was placed on the non-commercial FM band and followed a different approach from the radio stations he had owned in the past. It did not carry commercial advertisements, and it did not sell airtime to other ministries. Every sermon, Bible lesson, and teaching program was produced by his own ministry. The station primarily featured Southern gospel music while keeping Bible teaching and preaching at the heart of its broadcasts. As technology advanced, Sun Life Radio expanded through online streaming, reaching listeners worldwide. Its flagship station became WJFM in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In the year 1973, Jimmy proposed a television format blending gospel music, brief sermons, and ministry updates. The proposal was accepted, and within only a few weeks, the Jimmy Swaggart telecast was airing on television stations across the United States. The program gave viewers the chance to hear his preaching, enjoy gospel music, and learn about the ministry's latest activities. As more stations carried the broadcast, his audience continued to grow. In the year 1981, Jimmy launched another television program called A Study in the Word. The program focused on Bible teaching and became an important part of his television ministry. It was carried by several well-known Christian television networks, including CBN Cable, which is now known as Freeform, TBN, and the former PTL network, now called the Inspiration Network. Through these broadcasts, his Bible lessons reached viewers across many parts of the country. His ministry faced serious challenges during the year 1988. After his first scandal, he lost some of his television broadcasting rights, as well as certain merchandise rights connected to his ministry. The situation affected the reach of his broadcasts and changed the direction of his television work. A few years later, in the year 1991, another scandal caused even greater problems. Many local television stations ended their agreements to carry his programs. As more stations canceled their contracts, his career as a traditional televangelist came to an end. Alongside his work in radio and television, Jimmy also entered Christian education. During the autumn of the year 1984, he opened Jimmy Swaggart Bible College, often known as JSBC. The college first offered courses leading to degrees in education and communications. It was created to train students who wanted to serve in Christian ministry and other related fields. The college experienced major difficulties after the events of the year 1988. Following Jimmy's scandal, many students decided to leave, causing enrollment to fall sharply. The school also faced problems involving its accreditation, creating further challenges for its future. In the year 1991, the college was renamed World Evangelism Bible College. By that time, student enrollment had dropped to only 370. During October of that same year, the college ended several academic programs, including music, physical education, secretarial science, and communications. Its basketball team was also disbanded. So what was this scandal really about? Why did it destroy all he had built? Stay with us. The scandals that changed everything. Jimmy Swaggart's first major scandal began after a dispute with another minister from the Assemblies of God named Marvin Gorman. During the year 1986, Swaggart publicly accused Gorman of having several affairs. As a result of those accusations, Gorman was removed from the Assemblies of God, and his ministry was almost completely destroyed. Believing that his reputation had been unfairly damaged, Gorman took legal action against Swaggart. He filed a lawsuit for defamation and conspiracy, claiming that Swaggart had tried to ruin his name. In the year 1991, a court awarded Gorman damages of $10 million. After an appeal, both sides reached an agreement and settled the case for $1,750,000. While the legal battle continued, Gorman took another step. His son, Randy Gorman, and his son-in-law, Garland Bilbo, were asked to watch the Travel Inn on Airline Highway in Metairie, a suburb of New Orleans. During their surveillance, they photographed Jimmy Swaggart outside Room 7 with Deborah Murphy, a local prostitute. Shortly afterwards, Marvin Gorman arrived at the motel and confronted Swaggart about what had happened. According to Swaggart, the unauthorized biography of an American evangelist, Gorman claimed that Swaggart agreed to make a public apology and help begin the process of restoring Gorman's position within the Assemblies of God. Gorman also claimed that he offered to remain silent if Swaggart publicly admitted that his earlier accusations against him were false. Gorman waited for almost 1 year, expecting Swaggart to keep that promise. When nothing happened, he personally delivered a note to Swaggart, telling him that the time he had been given had come to an end. Swaggart did not respond. On February 16, 1988, Gorman contacted James Hamill, a member of the 13-person Executive Presbytery of the Assemblies of God. He informed church leaders about Swaggart's meeting with the prostitute. After learning about the incident, the leadership suspended Swaggart from broadcasting his television program for 3 months while the matter was investigated. The case received even more public attention because of Deborah Murphy. According to the Associated Press, she later took a polygraph test that was conducted by a polygraph expert from the New York City Police Department. The examiner concluded that she had not answered the key questions truthfully. The test took place after Murphy offered to sell her story to the National Enquirer for $100,000. She failed questions about whether she had been paid or promised money to arrange the situation involving Swaggart, and whether she had invented the story to make money from it. Instead of publishing Murphy's interview, National Enquirer editor Paul Levy printed a report describing concerns that members of Swaggart's family reportedly had about his health. Murphy later said that she believed her failed polygraph test was caused by cocaine use on the day before the examination. She was later interviewed by Penthouse magazine. On February 21, 1988, Jimmy Swaggart appeared on live television to address the situation. Without explaining the details of what had happened, he delivered the emotional message that later became widely known as his "I have sinned" speech. Fighting back tears, he spoke to his family, his church, and the television audience. He admitted that he had sinned and ended his message with a prayer asking God for forgiveness and cleansing. Although Swaggart publicly admitted wrongdoing, the national leadership of the Assemblies of God decided that the original 3-month suspension was not enough. Under the denomination's normal rules for immorality, they extended the suspension to 2 years. Swaggart chose to return to preaching after the first 3-month suspension instead of waiting for the full disciplinary period to end. Church leaders believed that he had not sincerely accepted their authority or fully followed their disciplinary process. Because of that decision, the Assemblies of God removed him from its ministry. His ministerial credentials and preaching license were officially taken away. After losing his standing within the denomination, Swaggart continued his ministry as an independent, non-denominational Pentecostal minister. He organized Jimmy Swaggart Ministries, which was based at the Family Worship Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. His ministry also operated the Sun Life Broadcasting Network, which carried his programs throughout the United States and many other countries. Several years later, another controversy placed Swaggart back in the headlines. On October 11, 1991, he was found with another prostitute after a police officer stopped his vehicle in Indio, California, for driving on the wrong side of the road. A woman named Rosemary Garcia was traveling with him. Garcia later said that Swaggart had stopped beside the road and approached her for intercourse before she entered the vehicle. She repeated those claims during interviews with reporters after the incident became public. Unlike his response to the earlier scandal, Swaggart did not make another public confession before his congregation. Instead, while speaking at the Family Worship Center, he told the audience that the Lord had said the matter was none of their business. Following the incident, he temporarily stepped aside from leading his ministry so that he could spend a period receiving counseling and healing before later returning to his work. The lasting impact. Jimmy Swaggart left behind a ministry that reached people through preaching, music, television, radio, and Christian writing. Over the years, he wrote about 50 Christian books that were made available through his ministry. His writings covered many areas of Christian teaching and Bible study. Among his best-known works was the Expositor's Study Bible, which became one of the most recognized parts of his publishing work. In addition to that study Bible, he also wrote 13 study guides and 38 Bible commentaries. These books were created to help readers better understand the Bible and its teachings. His ministry also published a monthly magazine called The Evangelist, which shared Bible messages, ministry updates, and other Christian material with its readers. During the year 1985, Jimmy published another book titled Religious Rock and Roll, A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. The book reflected his views on religious rock music and became another addition to the growing collection of books produced through his ministry. Jimmy's work in gospel music also received national recognition. In the year 1981, his album Worship earned a nomination for the Grammy Award for Best Gospel Performance, Traditional. The nomination recognized his contribution to traditional gospel music and added another achievement to his long career as a preacher and gospel singer. Only one day before his death, Jimmy received another important honor. On June 30th, 2025, he was inducted into the Southern Gospel Hall of Fame as a member of the class of 2025. The recognition celebrated his many years of service and his influence on Southern gospel music. Away from public ministry, Jimmy built a family that remained closely connected to his work. On October 10, 1952, he married Frances Anderson. Together, they had one child, Donnie Swaggart. Donnie later followed his father into ministry and became a preacher. Jimmy's grandson, Gabriel Swaggart, also entered the ministry. Their involvement meant that 4 generations of the Swaggart family became active in televangelism, continuing the family's long connection with Christian broadcasting and preaching. Although Jimmy Swaggart became widely known as one of the leading figures connected with the rise of the Christian right, he did not belong to any political party. His work remained centered on his ministry rather than political affiliation. During the month of June in the year 2025, concerns about Jimmy's health became public. On June 15th, reports stated that he had suffered a cardiac arrest at his home and had been admitted to hospital. He was placed in intensive care as doctors continued treating him. His son, Donnie Swaggart, later shared that his father's condition was very serious and said that only a miracle could change the outcome. After remaining in hospital, Jimmy Swaggart passed away in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on July 1, 2025, at the age of 90. His death marked the end of a ministry that had lasted for many decades and had reached audiences through churches, radio, television, books, magazines, and gospel music. Through his preaching, writing, broadcasting, and music, his name remained well known to many people around the world, and his ministry continued through the work of his family and the organizations he established. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.